She is the woman who shattered the myth of the perfect mother. She dared to say the most radical thing of all. Your children don't need a perfect mother. They need a conscious one. She took motherhood out of martyrdom and placed it back into humanity. She showed us that parenting isn't about control, it's about connection. And that it's about healing our own wounds so we don't hand them to our children like inheritance. Have you ever thought of your family not as a hierarchy, but as a mirror? And that if we are brave enough to look into that mirror, our children will become our greatest spiritual teachers. She gave women permission to break generational patterns, to stop raising children from fear, to stop abandoning themselves in the name of love. She transformed parenting from a role into a revolution. Ladies and ladies, welcome, Dr. Shefali. This is Things Your Mother Never Told You. Let's begin. Dr. Shefali, I am so excited about this moment. There was a time, I think about 5 years ago, that I first heard about you, and it was through your book, A Radical Awakening. And when I was reading that was the start of COVID, and I was at a moment in my life where something needed to change. I couldn't define yet what had to change, but there was something that felt mysteriously off and lack of satisfaction. And I strangely felt profoundly guilty for feeling that way because by all standards, I had the perfect life. And there was a strange ache that something was missing.
Well, I had a very surreal experience. So because I had done so much meditation and have this Eastern spirituality, when I was in the catastrophe, which lasted 2-3 years, I also had like a meta perspective through it. So I was like commentating while I was going through it.
Wow.
But I was able to go and, now you're fighting for your authenticity. Oh, now you're terrified and you're living in fear. And I would do experiments on myself like, wow, try to see, I remember I went through a week and a half where I said, try to see if you can only say yes or no after checking in, and it has to be the truth. Like you can't say yes in a lie and you can't say no in a lie. And I found I could barely talk because I was all not lies, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, right, betraying yourself.
Persona, pleaser. And so then I'm watching that process and I'm writing about it. So I knew that I had something really powerful, not just a memoir, but really something that could give this. I wrote it through and through the entire process of transformation. Like I think by the time I had my divorce, I had sent the book, and I started it in the process of that change. It took 2-3 years that we were together and wrangling the issues. So I wrote it while I was in it.
Oh my gosh. And I think that's why it had such a depth and a richness because there's a difference. I would agree with you when a book is strictly memoir versus taking people on the journey of like what was happening for you internally as a perspective for women to question for themselves and to do that journey within.
Yeah. And to weave both.
Yes.
Because I didn't want it to be just me.
Yes.
I wanted to offer something, because when you offer something back to yourself, really. So I was doing both as a compliment, and sometimes it's a heady book, sometimes it can get a little bit analytical, but then I kept it weaving with the raw story as well.
It was so brave. Thank you on behalf of all women for your willingness to write it.
There are some chapters which are like, I think it's Hungary, where the publisher came to me and said, we need to erase parts of like a whole chapter because it was too provocative.
Did you erase it?
Yeah, I mean, I tweaked it because I didn't want to, have ego and then dump the whole book.
Right.
But it was so provocative, and it was only provocative because I made women question their presumptions, their hatred towards men who they feel have betrayed them.
Yes, but isn't it interesting how the erasure of that, let's make it a little bit more palatable, a little more pleasing, a little more digestible, how every time we do that, and I don't mean you as much as like the publisher coming and saying how we take away opportunities for women
Yeah.
to go deeper, as if it's almost like we don't have this belief that women can hold themselves through that line of questioning.
Right. It's really the publishers didn't want to get the pushback, right? It was protecting them. And I really had to think. And I remember getting into this very purist artist, ego.
I bet.
Like, if you don't want it as it is, then don't take it.
Yes.
But I've learned, because now I'm older, that you take a little bit at a time. You open the door and you get in. It's the foot in the door. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. For a long time I would say no to audiences.
Yes.
Like, oh, if they're not completely aligned,
Yes.
because you're so idealistic when you're young, then I'm not coming.
Yeah.
And if the politics don't match, if the organizers' politics don't match, I'm not going to endorse their work. I was
100%.
so idealistic and,
me
and
too.
pure and egotistical. Now I'm very humble and I go, you know what? I'll take whatever I can get. Because who knows if there's one person who is willing and awake. I don't have to be all or nothing.
That's right.
And that's part of adulting, I think.
It is. You're absolutely right, because there could be somebody in that audience
who needs it.
That's it. I've spoken a couple of things recently where I say no to 90% of the things for the reason you spoke of. So I'm still in that maturing process where it's like, that does not align, that does not align. I said yes to a few things. I'm going to be completely transparent with some resistance. And in the end, what happened was so beautiful, because there were inevitably women in that audience. And surprisingly, men would come up and say things to me where I was shocked that they were able to even receive what I was saying. So I've learned, don't assume who is sitting in that audience or who is listening or who sees a video of that. Speak to them, Amanda.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the masses liking your message.
Yeah.
There might be one person who needs it, and that's worth it to me.
Yeah. I once got invited to someone in a high government office during a political period where I was not endorsing the powers, and I didn't go for this high-flying invitation, and because I was so rigid. But had I gone, who knows, right? If the consciousness could have been a little tweaked or inspired by me, and I didn't give myself or that person. So just like the publisher did to me, I have done to people, right? The same way. Like, I'm erasing you, I'm not going to honor. Now, we don't have to say yes to everybody.
Correct.
So it's that discernment,
Yes.
It's really testing to see if I'm saying no just because I am so rigid, or am I saying no because it's really
out of alignment for you,
a busted opportunity. But if there's potential, now I open the door. You know?
Yes. And I think just your essence in the room, in and of itself, if you barely even spoke, you have the ability to create influence in that room just by your openness and your beingness and your aura. I think that alone sometimes can even speak volumes to maybe sway people in ways they would have never considered before. And then you share a few perspectives. I've sat at so many tables with some fairly closed-minded people, not by choice, but a happenstance. And by the end, the conversations turned in the most beautiful places that I couldn't even have predicted.
Right. And this translates to us as women going through a transformation. So I'll tell you how. So when you first think about going to sit at that table, you may think, no, right? It's not my principle. These are not my people. And you're no. It's the same as having a very archetypal belief system, right? Like, I'll never get divorced, or no one should ever cheat on me, or whatever rigid.
Right.
And we're like, that's it. If my husband cheats, I'm out. I was just talking to a woman today, and she's like, I'm thinking about staying even though he cheated on me. And 10 years ago, I would have said no. But it's that same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's these belief systems that come before us.
Yes.
And what we're talking to is surrender a bit. Let's just stay open. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right? And I told this woman, because she was nervous, she was like, but what if he does it again? I said, but you're in the moment, in this moment, now.
That's right.
And you can always leave tomorrow.
That's
then
right.
Great. But right now, let's see what this opportunity can give you. And I think we as women, or all of us in culture, are so rigidified by these traditions and these belief systems and these conditionings. And I'm learning now to really lean in and suspend my preconceived notions, surrender my superior ideals, and be curious. Like, sit with the enemy, lean in.
Yes.
Learn something.
Yes, because the enemy was born from someone
From
and something.
somewhere and something. They have a context, they have a story, and
Yes.
you don't have to stay. You can say, hey, gotta go.
That's
I
right.
have to take this call. Or a woman in a marriage can say, okay, now I've changed my mind.
That's right.
Right? This idea that things are, in stone keeps us so trapped in fear.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. And I love to hold the belief that everything in relationships is deeply, deeply nuanced.
Yes.
It is not a cookie cutter or
Right.
black and white situation. There's so many layers
Right,
to
right.
it. And I love to be in that I don't know, curiosity. I always call it like treasure hunting.
Yeah.
That at any given moment in any conversation, there are treasures to be found if I'm open and willing.
Exactly. And that's why in my book, A Radical Awakening, I refused to even speak about my husband back then because it had nothing to do with what he did, but all the things that I allowed, right?
Oh,
and women, when we diffuse our focus and we blame others, in the moment it gives us a temporary hit of dopamine, right? Where we found a channel for our anger.
Yeah.
But it really is a distraction, a detractor, because the real work is to look within and to reflect and to really embrace that this relationship, this moment, this conflict, this pain came into your life because you were part of it. Like you
co-created.
You co-created it.
Yes.
And that co-creation is actually your liberation. It's your empowerment.
Absolutely.
But people don't like that so much, right? They resist that because it demands that you have to own, wow, I was blind. I let myself be so naive.
Yeah.
I kept myself believing a fantasy. The signs were on the wall, but I refused to read them.
Yeah.
With compassion, to take accountability is what we, as women, if we want to step into our sovereign selves, that's what we need to do.
That's exactly what we need to do. That piece of ownership is so wildly important. Otherwise, when we are busy pointing the finger, then we go on to the next place or space or relationship and we recreate it.
Yeah.
Because we haven't looked at our part in it.
Yeah, but that is why tough relationships come to us, because there's some hard edge that we are still so attached to, right? So for me, it was the idea of the good one, the good wife, the people pleaser, the fixer, the savior. And I had to really ask myself, and I think many women have to, like, am I ready to give up this image of myself?
Yes.
Right? It's my attachment to
Yes.
my old self.
Correct.
That is not dying. And that's why I'm not stepping into liberation. My ex-husband had nothing to do with it. It was my own battle clinging to this ideal image that I thought I needed to have about me.
Right.
So it's really just this internal drama,
Oh, it's so incredible. So which brings me to, I love so much this conscious parenting that you are bringing into the world. It's the most exquisite and feels very natural to me in how I raised my children. From the time they were so little, having so much honor and respect for their sweet little perspectives from the lens of a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old, and really being so much in curiosity and on the floor. Well, tell mommy how that feels, or why does it make you feel sad, or tell me, what did you see? What did you hear? What happened in that situation? And I remember there being a time, my mom's old school, and God love her, she's an old school kind of mother where children are really
seen, not heard.
exactly, and they shouldn't have too much opinion about anything. And I remember when my kids were quite young, my mom was visiting and we were all traveling somewhere in the car together. And she looked at me at one point and she said, "You talk to them too much. You let them talk about their feelings too much." And there was a millisecond of a moment that thought, oh my gosh, am I going to create like these overly soft kids that aren't going to be able to make their way in the world? Just a moment of a wobble. And I continued with what felt instinctual and natural. And I'm so thankful I did, because the emotional intelligence that they have grown up with to go into the world with is so powerful. And there's massive room for failure and no expectation that you have to be these people for my ego. I remember one time some of my kids being like, I don't really want to do sports.
Right.
And where I was living in suburban Connecticut, it was a faux pas.
Yeah.
If your kids didn't do sports,
like
they
they're
were
damaged. Yeah,
That's it. They're
yeah,
ruined. They're never
yeah,
going to make
yeah.
anything of themselves.
Yeah.
And I remember we had different types of Saturdays and Sundays than a lot of families because we had more downtime and we had more family time and dinners together. And I will be honest, there were moments where I wobbled and wondered, am I doing the right thing?
Right.
Am I doing the right thing? Because not a lot of people are doing this. What if I'm messing the whole thing up? But when I look at your work and what you are doing, like so much of doing our own internal work as moms or fathers so that we're not projecting all of that wounding or unmet needs of our life into our children and then creating our own story onto their template. Can you speak more to like how you've so beautifully like led parents into this reality of being aware of what is yours to create space for them to live their own path?
Yeah, well, thank you. You know, it's so funny. I was just talking to a friend who just happened to pick up The Conscious Parent, which I published in 2010. Wow. Right, so I wrote it in 2007. Back then, you're like, it was 400,000 words.
How old was your daughter at that point?
Okay, so 2010. Now she's 22. How old was she?
Let's see. Aaron, do you want to do some math for us? Yeah.
So 15 years ago, 7 years.
Okay, perfect.
7 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You already, I love we're sharing this with everyone.
Yeah. So back then I had no idea what I was writing. Yeah, I didn't even, I kept calling it conscious parenting. I did not expect it to be a thing. Anyway, so this friend just happened to read The Conscious Parent again. I haven't read it for years. And they used the word exquisite. They said, oh my God, it is just exquisite. And the thing about it is that it works every damn time.
Every time.
Conscious parenting works every time.
Oh.
It's not a technique. It's a philosophy. It's a way
philosophy.
of being.
That's exactly right.
And once you get aligned with it, but we forget. But forgetting is part of the work.
Yes.
But once you get into, what would conscious parenting say?
Yeah.
You just get in your body, you get in your lane. It's not perfect.
No.
But the damage is infinitely less, right? It is so much more less.
Yes.
And that's what you want to do is like do less harm, right?
That's right.
And because it's not perfect and you can't always, fine tune these children and puppeteer them into this product.
No.
But you can come back, you can show up differently and restart. And back then when I wrote it, it just came through me and I couldn't believe no one was talking about it. That no one was asking the parent to look at their gargantuan ego.
Yes.
I'm like, am I the only one who has this bloody ego? I'm like, it cannot be.
No.
It cannot be.
No.
And I was a therapist, so I could see everybody's ego. And I could see the resistance in parents. And people would fire me, get really upset.
I bet.
Principals got upset with me because I was getting the audiences, their school bodies upset. Parents were getting upset with me. And then very slowly, one mother would write to me and say, oh my God, you changed my life. And another, because it takes courage.
It does.
It takes courage for that parent to look within themselves. Yeah. And then, of course, when Oprah picked it up, that's when it blew up. But till then, it was just one parent at a time, one brave mother really at a time who was willing to look in the mirror because it's very confrontive. It's very provocative to do the work because till conscious parenting, there were murmurs and whispers of other books that told the parents, watch yourself, look at yourself, but not in this
Not at this depth.
Not to this depth. So it was pioneering in that way, but it was also at a time where there was so much blind ego, so much unconsciousness. I mean, look at where we are now. I mean, now people talk about conscious parenting all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like it is the thing.
Yes.
Right? They may not know it came from my work or to call it conscious parenting, but parents are all the time talking about their regulation and their triggers and their issues. So it's become part of the parenting commentary. But back then it was very scary for me to talk about it because audiences were brutally bitter and cold and cynical and resistant. So it was really one at a time. And of course, I had Oprah.
Yes.
I mean, that definitely did everything.
She's like the golden what the golden wand, right?
Yeah.
She just puts her seal on anything, and it's
Yeah.
like the most magical blessing.
Yeah, and I never thought that she would even touch this work because she's not technically a biological parent.
Right.
But the fact that she saw some truth there, right? And that's what it is about conscious parenting. There's this eternal wisdom to it. It's not about this kid or that kid or this age group. Parents come to me and say, will it work for my ADHD child? Or will it work for my 20-year-old? And I go, it's not about the child. It's about your transformation, and you can always transform.
Yes.
So that eternal wisdom, you can always return to, and it'll never fail you. It has never failed me. With any client, with any of my work, in any hairy situation, I come back to the principles, because the principles are these eternal spiritual principles of non-ego, of impermanence, of entering the present moment, of letting go of the role, entering the soul, so to speak. So how can you ever go wrong?
There is so much grace in that. And I'm just imagining what our world would be like if more parents parented from that place. And so many of the kids who are walking around feeling unloved, unseen, invisible, wounded, I can only imagine what a warm, enveloping hug that kind of parenting would feel like for them.
I know.
And then they would be probably less likely to turn and wound somebody or a classmate or with their words or their actions because they felt the embrace of a conscious parent.
Right. When do we harm others? The person who harms another has unmetabolized, unprocessed, suppressed pain that they've shoved through shame into the shadows of their psyche. So that pain doesn't go away.
It doesn't.
It erupts in the most insidious, subversive ways. And we look for more vulnerable targets. And that's why we other, right? We go into a school and we shoot them because they're children, they're vulnerable, they're captive. So that's what this unprocessed, unmetabolized pain does. And that's why the tenets of conscious parenting are so powerful, because it says you have to connect before you correct. And this doesn't mean kiss and hug your kid. It means first, we take care of the feelings. So if your child is lazy and unmotivated on the couch, instead of just yelling at them, and of course, once in a while you can yell at them, but if this is a chronic issue, there's something deeper.
Yes.
Right? Because no child willingly decides to waste away on a couch.
There's a suffering happening.
Yes, and a severance. Yeah. And a severance between their authentic self and who they think they should be, and that perfectionism, that pressure, and that shame, perhaps, that now they've recoiled into this blob on a sofa.
Yes.
So we have to understand that.
Yes.
But most of us are parenting from our ego. So all we care about is my child is not doing what I think they should do. And I've spent all this money, all this time. So why aren't they doing what I need to do? We're not even connecting to the fact that there's a throbbing, pained, suffering being there that's trapped in there, that is demanding release. So when that connection, that attunement isn't there, that child is a dangerous child.
Yes.
In fact, the more dormant they are and the more still they are in your basement, behind a screen, they are living in this virtual world which numbs their heart. And that's why our boys today are in trouble.
I'm so happy you're talking about this. It is an urgent matter because it really feels like they're ticking time bombs.
Yes, they are.
Right? And I see a lot of them in comment sections online, whether it's targeted. A lot of it gets targeted at me. And these are even men probably. I know we're talking about the teens and early 20s, but those men also go on to grow up to be those 30 and 40-year-old men who are still in that mentality.
Yes.
And they are a danger to society. Let's just be totally honest. What do we say to a mom who, and I hear from women who say, I don't know what to do. He won't, literally what you were saying, he won't come out of the basement.
Yes.
He has circles under his eyes.
Yes.
He doesn't socialize anymore. And he's got his hoodie on and he's just down there in the dark.
Yeah. And this is a cultural epidemic.
It is.
It's not just one family.
That's right.
So no one needs to feel blame or shame.
No.
This is happening in Japan. They're called hikikomori, where there are over 2 million children, teenagers, boys mostly, in rooms. The government has to send girls to get them out because It's an epidemic. This is an epidemic of dissociation and disconnection. And no parent should feel ashamed.
No.
But they must ask for help and they must own it.
Yes.
And why are we here? We're here because no one's at home. I mean, and I hate for women to hear this and feel like I'm bashing them.
It's tricky for the working mom, right?
Because the working mom is like, oh, thank you very much. Right? But children need somebody. So, and the more intelligent, emotionally intelligent one is typically the female. Typically. It just is, we're wired that way.
Yes, I say we're the emotional leaders of our
We
families.
are the emotional leaders of the world.
100%. Let's just
admit it. Yes.
Yes.
And that's what's missing in the world. But anyway.
Yes.
But in the home, so when the mother
I know.
is not there. Listen, I'm a working mom. You're a working mom.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is
so this is not to bash the working mom. It's just to say that their presence is sorely missed and needed. Because when the mother, the throbbing heart of the house, is not there, these children flounder. And I have seen father after father, the best of men, the most sweet, tender, loving gentlemen. They can't do what a woman does so amazingly because we're amazing.
I know.
Okay, so
I agree with
it's
you.
Just
it's making me so
our
emotional.
Our heart is just, we just get it, you know.
Yes.
Men have to work their way from head to heart.
Yes.
Even the loving ones.
Yes.
Forget the ones who just can't get there, right? Where the elevator is just too long. It's going to take years. But for those who do have access, like a quick ladder, heart to head, even they have to go, okay, let me enter my heart.
I can almost see my husband doing the process.
Okay, I'm going to enter the world of no logic, no rationality,
no
and
fixing.
just feelings, and just sit there and not say a word. After they have to work themselves into it, right? It's hard for them.
True.
Their brains are wired
It's not their
differently.
natural state.
No, they hunt and conquer and survive, and that's their wiring. So
that's right.
Our wiring is just immediately tribe builder, tribe connector, storyteller, the bonder of children and grandparents. I mean, that's just
soulfulness.
We're just soul. So when that soul, now, this doesn't mean women shouldn't work, but just know that too much of you out of your home is going to lead to your children, especially your sons. And if the father's out and there are no male models, so now the son, who is also wired to be compartmentalized and detached and with more testosterone and more, leaving and withdrawing energy, they go into their video games now. Just yesterday, I gave a free session to a single mother for her and her 10-year-old boy. And he was adorable. And I said, you're hurting your mother. And he looked at her and he said, I am. I said, no guilt, but she feels a little hurt when you talk to her like that. He was like, she does? And he was like all tearing up because he was still in the window of I could get him.
Yes.
That's why I did it.
Yes.
I was like, I'm going to give you a free session because it matters so much to me to save this boy. And you're a single mother and she's terrified of him. So when I told the boy that, I said, your mother is terrified. He was like, what? Because he's looking at himself as a little baby. He doesn't realize that when he becomes menacing, he terrifies her. Because we women we are in PTSD everywhere we go. Everywhere we go.
And we've inherited that
from our fathers, from our cultures. I grew up in India. I have 100% PTSD. I'm always angry with strange men who try to hit on me, like instant anger.
Yeah.
And my daughter goes like, you can just be like, you can just say no or just walk away. You don't have to go on this onslaught, but I will rip them because I have built up of years of suppression. And that's what's happening in the house. So these single mothers are terrified of their sons, not because the sons are terrifying. The sons need containment. The sons need expression. The sons need love.
Yes.
But in our mind, because of our PTSD, they morph into these monsters and we pit them with the other men without realizing, subconsciously. And we hate on them, and then they feel rejected, then they feel cheated.
And it's this vicious
and where are the fathers?
Oh.
And the fathers grew up with probably no fathers or absent fathers, so you can't blame them. They don't have a model. They're ADHD. They're distracted. They're numbing themselves. They're watching porn. So we are now in an age of unmitigated disconnection because the phone is right here. The phone is right here. You
Constant.
watch yourself. Like
Yes.
where before I would look out the window, I would contemplate. I'm on my phone.
Right.
It's like instant dopamine. So imagine for that little boy.
I can't.
He's getting dopamine from there, from the video game, from the porn, from the misogyny that he's observing. And he goes, wow, I can be bare-chested and drive a Bentley and smoke a cigar. I want that because I'm feeling so helpless right now. I feel like I don't matter. I want to be like that.
And then you get people who lead those movements.
Oh, yeah.
The dangerous,
They
toxic
know.
men who lead those movements for
know.
the young boys and call them in.
They know.
And then they feel a sense of community.
Yes.
Then there is somewhere to channel all
Yes.
of that.
It's
and
the
they
gang.
feel-
It's
It
the original
is.
gang
It's
on the
new-
block is now the new gang.
That's right.
Online.
That's
But
right.
more dangerous and more sneaky because it is, at least the gang on the block, you had to go.
Right.
This one is coming into your house.
it's
in
very
your
insidious.
It's in your bed. It's in your bathroom. So our boys are in trouble, and we need to wake up to it.
If you were to cast the grandest of wishes in the entire world, would there be a wish that all of these gaming devices
Yes.
and access on phones would be
Yes.
eliminated for that age?
I wish that we take off social media for children and us. We just take it off. It does no good. The other day, I fully realized, like the penny really dropped for me when I was in a conversation with a few others. And I was telling them, wow, the world is going to end, something like that. We're flying off the cliff. We are I was in doom, okay? And they looked at me and said, wow, your feed is really problematic. And I said, why? Your feed isn't problematic? Like, aren't you depressed? And they said, no. Because they have curated a different feed.
I tell my clients to do this all the time.
Yes.
It's like putting yourself on a cleanse.
Right. And I
Social
know,
media cleanse.
I mean, the feed has answered me. It's not the feed has been evil on its own. I have created this feed because I'm
Yes.
looking for my savior, right? I'm like, who's going to save us in the world? But there is no one. So I keep getting doom, doom, doom. But what I realize is that I'm creating my own anxiety.
That internal suffering.
Why?
Yes.
What am I doing?
I know.
So I put my icon all the way to the where I cannot see it now. I haven't gone on it as much. And when I go, I only go looking for the next Messiah. I'm like, is there somebody who will talk sense and save us?
Right.
I'm looking for him or her, right?
Her.
The goddess.
It's her.
But I don't find them. So then but my point being is that it's not reality. Whatever we're seeing is a skewed reality based on our own
To
anxiety.
disenfranchise you, to get you
to
depressed,
get
because
me
you're
to keep
so much
playing.
easier to control
Yes.
if you're depressed and
Yes.
doomed. But the goddess is you. You are the goddess, right?
And-
She's in you.
Right, in all of us. So we don't need to be looking.
That's right.
And I realized I am addicted and I'm getting whatever my good reason is. Right?
Well, you also run your business primarily. Like
Yeah, but now I'm not even looking. And it's been such a relief. I go for days and I don't check my stats.
Yeah.
And I go, wow, I really got into a spiral there. And I don't even post. I was just looking for the next goddess, right? But no matter how virtuous the reason, it is that echo chamber. It is a skewed reality. And it feeds you based on where you are.
That's
so
right.
if you're in anxiety, you will get more anxiety.
That's right.
And most of our kids are in anxiety. And that's why suicide rates are the highest they've ever been.
Yes.
Eating disorders.
Yes.
Self-harm.
Yes,
It's like a contagion.
it is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. I mean, I remember coming home from school, and
Yeah.
if there were girls who didn't like me at school, or there was a party that went on that I didn't get invited to, I didn't even know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I came home,
we
I closed the door, and I was
blissfully
in.
unaware. So we had FOMO maybe the next day when we went
When
back
you
to
heard
school,
about something that
but
happened.
not in real time.
No.
This is agonizing.
I cannot fathom it. I cannot, because the frontal lobe is not fully developed until 25. So
Minimum.
Yes.
Yes.
And so these young people, I remember I shared a story before on social media about my 15-year-old daughter at the time. We were on a vacation with our dear friends and their kids, and the two 15-year-old girls were, we rented this beautiful Airbnb on the beach in
and
Costa
they
Rica.
did
We had
not.
the surfboards. They're in their bathing suits,
Yeah.
and they won't come out. And I finally go in to check and see what's going on. Like, we've all been outside for over 2 hours now, and I go in, and they're both looking on their phones, and they're comparing their bodies. And I said, girls, what are you doing? what's happening right now?
Right.
And they're like, oh, I just look how beautiful she is. And I said, do you understand this is all contorted?
Yeah.
This is not reality. You know what is reality?
Yeah.
This water, this beach.
Yeah.
We go home in a couple of days and you haven't even come outside yet. But it pained me to see how that was robbing them of the joy of the present moment
Yes.
of their life. And I think so many of these kids are not even experiencing or not experiencing the present moment, but not even
Their own
getting to know
body.
who they are.
No, because before you know who you are, your feed is already telling you who you should be.
Yes.
So you are constantly comparing yourself with this virtual perfect stranger,
Yeah.
and looking at yourself in your pajamas with your stained coffee and your hungry cat, and you're going, wow, I have an ordinary life.
Yeah.
But we're not realizing that we're just seeing snippets of other people's lives. So we see this one on Mount Everest, this one in Cancun, this one with the Dalai Lama, and we're like going, but it all mushes together as if everybody has that.
And then you feel totally
And
worthless.
then you feel totally worthless. But we don't realize that those people are posting only the highlight reel.
Yes.
You know?
I have a girlfriend she's now divorced, but she posted a picture that was so fabulously curated, right? It was a couple of years ago, her and her husband and their 4 kids, they baked Christmas cookies.
Yeah.
They've got the matching aprons.
Yeah.
They're standing there with a platter of cookies. And moments later, her little one accidentally dropped her great-grandmother's platter. It all shatters. Her and her husband were in a huge fight. Just to get him to come into the picture was a big ordeal. And they got divorced soon after. And she posted, and it went crazy viral because her point was, do not trust what you see in a photo that takes seconds to take.
Right.
Let me tell you what actually happened leading up to that photo and the hours after that photo. And it was debauchery. Right? And it was such a refreshing piece for her to be so vulnerable to say, this is not what we actually think it is. And I don't know about you, but I'm approaching 53 and I'm living it in real time because I really am committed personally. I've made a devotion to myself to age naturally in a world where very few women are doing that now.
Yeah.
And so in the same way that our own kids struggle and children, like we're saying, teenagers are struggling with this fake reality, it's why I consider myself a content creator, not a content consumer. I don't enjoy being online because the messaging is everywhere that a woman my age, I think we've forgotten what 53 actually looks like. And so the messaging that this is somehow less worthy is everywhere. It's just, it's infiltrating everything. And I just refuse. I'm like, I'm going to stay in my exquisite place of what I believe to be true. And I'm going to stay away from anything that would ever try to tell me I'm less worthy.
Wow.
Because I'm aging in a way Mother Nature intended for me to age.
Yeah, I mean, I look at you and I'm just in awe because I love how you're aging and you're embracing it. And so to hear that people would scorn you, do women scorn you or men?
It's been more women, believe it or
Wow,
not, than men. It's
why
very
would
strange.
they do that?
Well, when I spoke on the Mind Valley stage, they actually had to start taking a lot of the comments down. And the nastiest things came from women. They said, you look like a hag. You look like you're 70. You should be embarrassed. I can't believe your husband's still with you.
I cannot even believe it.
I made a video about that. It was really heartbreaking. It wasn't coming from men. It was coming from women. I mean, occasionally men will say things, but I think that we police ourselves so profoundly as women.
Women are vicious to each other.
That's so bad.
And I mean, I'm just surprised because to me, you are a goddess, so it's just so shocking. But in my life, I've had women be the biggest betrayers to me. And that is so sad, right?
It's
because we need to be in
heartbreaking.
a sisterhood.
We do.
If you want to age this way, it's all good.
Yes.
And we need to allow.
And I actually think that's part of why, as a society, we're struggling because the women are infighting rather than coming.
But that's what the patriarchy has done.
That's exactly right.
They made us compete because we are now the chosen. But the men in the natural kingdom, the male is the chosen. So the peahen has to choose. She doesn't have to be fancy.
That's right.
She chooses.
That's right.
But it's all flipped now. So we are now the chosen. So now we are fighting with each other. The peacocks used to fight with each other, you see? So now the men are all just letting their stomachs hang out and not shaving, and they're okay going on stage. But we are competing with each other.
I have to laugh.
And when
You're
we
so
compete with each other, we lose our power.
We do. over and over
because
and
we
over
want to be
again.
chosen. So we need to flip it and go,
That's right.
we don't need to be chosen.
Oh, no. I actually just choose myself.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful
But I do
thing.
see that coming. I do see that coming.
think
which is
so.
why these boys are even in more trouble now.
That's right.
Because the women are not choosing them.
That's right. I ran something online a couple of Saturdays ago just for men in a response to the crisis of what I saw happening in our country. And I thought, let me just hold some space for these men. It was so beautiful.
Wow.
One of the men said to me, though, he said, I commute with my wife to work and we listen to your podcast in the morning. And the more I listen, the more I'm realizing if we don't figure something out very quickly, and he's married to an incredible woman, and they're raising children together. He said, but if we as a society don't figure out something very quickly, I truly, he said, that pains me to say this, I don't actually see the value we bring anymore to women.
Yeah.
We're causing so much harm.
Yeah.
I can see why they're no longer going to choose us.
Yeah, because we women have stepped up our game. We have said no more. We have taken our lane, their lane, every lane, right?
Yes.
But what it's done is it's left the men behind. And not that it's our responsibility. They need to speed it up.
Yes.
But they can't now because we've integrated the masculine and the feminine in such a beautiful, synthesized way. They're left floundering, right? But if we really want to make it a safe place for our daughters, we need to bring the men on board.
We really do. And I think that's the next part of this work, right? But I think there was a righteous rage for a while where we needed to do what we needed to do as women.
Sure.
We needed to claim a lot of the space and and I can say personally, I was angry for quite some time. Only recently am I like, okay.
Yeah.
I think even my work can start expanding for more couples spaces and more men to come in, where before I was like, no, it's just about the women. It's just about the women. I just want to work with them.
Right. I have great compassion for men, but I hear you. I also was angry for a while, but now I can see how they are also misunderstood, untended, unevolved, and unhealed because of what we were talking about, that their mothers don't know how to deal with them, and their fathers project the same anger, shame, and brutality that they were raised in. So there's no tenderness to our young sons.
That's right.
And they are the missing key, and they are the ones who we have to catch before they're 12, 13, and that is the key. If we don't capitalize on them, then our daughters are going to be unsafe.
You're absolutely right. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you're writing these books.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I'm sure the world is going to just devour them
Thank
when
you.
they come out. Everything
Thank
that you
you.
write is like, it's like the new scripture that we need for the templates for being in relationships. Because in your work, you talk so much about relationships are always mirroring that wounding within, and they're always calling us higher. There are always opportunities to do more of that healing within.
Yeah.
So that we can show up in ways that are safer for ourselves and the world.
Yeah, and that's why to speak of living in this world and just be, angry with men is not to look in the mirror.
That's right.
How can a whole half of the population
That's right.
just be evil,
That's right.
Now they manifest evil, they can act evil, but they grew up with mothers.
Yes.
Right? So where is the disconnect?
That's right.
They grew up with fathers. So we have to be able to help our parents raise sons differently. There's some huge disconnect.
There really, really is.
And I think, frankly, our sons are not in their element. They're not supposed to be in little chairs on little desks, sitting
agree with you.
with girls, paying attention.
No.
It's torture for them. Torture.
I know that one of my sons, they really, really wanted to put him on Ritalin.
Yeah.
And I said, absolutely not. I absolutely not. And I resisted and resisted. And my best girlfriend, our sons are similar ages. We used to be on the phone constantly, and she's like, they're doing it to me too. And we both resisted, and we were the unfavored moms because we were doubling down on no. And to this day, obviously he never has, and I'm just so thankful. He's going to be 25 years old, and he's learned to manage the beautiful way that his brain thinks and his body. And he's not the type to sit in a chair for hours on end.
Most boys are not the type to sit in a chair for hours on end, and we are killing the wildness that is in them.
Yes.
And wildly medicating boys at the age of 5 and on.
It's just so disturbing.
There's
to
a
me.
war on boys 5 and older, and they are mostly female teachers with female classmates of course, the boy is going to be disruptive and out of place and loud and cantankerous and boisterous and unmanageable because he's supposed to be running and doing and being physical. I mean, his body is wired in such a different way. He's physical. He's not emotional and in his being. He's in the doing.
It's almost like this is a really intense word that I'm about to use, but it's almost like we're castrating their
No, we are
masculinity.
emasculating them completely.
And they're so little.
Yes, so then they have rage because they're being put in a cage that they're not supposed to be put in. And then it comes out at us, at the girls, at the women.
Understandably.
So then, so if we really want to have compassion for ourselves and our daughters, we need to set our boys free, and we cannot shame them and suppress them and medicate them at 5. So then by 15, they are raving lunatics because no one has really taught them.
That's right.
They've just shoved the feelings aside, but the feelings are still seething. And the minute they're off the medication or the minute there's a trigger. So it's a fundamental epidemic. And we need to really change the conversation.
We really do. And I have a lot of concerns, too, about what does that medication do when the brain is still, especially the frontal lobe is still in development. What is happening when all of that is coming into play? I think that we can be causing some long-term problems that we don't even understand yet.
Right. Isn't it funny that it's a patriarchy that is actually doing this to its own boys? You know what I mean? In a weird way.
Yes.
What are we doing, right?
Yes.
Oh, even if you take the church, right? Obviously, there's a issue there, a sexual problem. But again, it's the traditional patriarchy that is obviously literally castrating its priests who are then causing pain to the boys and the girl. I mean, it's like, is no one seeing this?
I know.
It's so clear
I know.
that we are damaging our children and putting them in unsafe places because we adults are unsafe.
That's right.
We are unsafe. And it's not because we're inherently evil.
No.
All of us, can't just be evil.
No way.
So we've been conditioned, we've been socialized, we've been cut off from our heart. And it's just, it's pointless to blame anybody. We just need to reform.
That's right. I am so thankful that you are so vocal and clear in your communication about what you see as the overarching issues and what we need to do, and that you're bringing a remedy for that, because we can obviously sit here and lament all day long and just be so heartbroken around it. Or I think thankfully, like women like yourself and myself, we're really out in the world creating a new narrative because we see, and this is why the matriarchal voice and the working mother and the spaciousness for women to claim more of the matriarchal stage is it's never been, I don't think, as needed as it is right now.
Yeah.
Our world is aching for the mother.
Yeah.
It is aching for the mother leadership. And that is why sometimes I get a little fatigued when bigger stages are so consumed with men and men and men and men. It's like we need to give more space for the mothers and I don't mean mothers like a biological mother, but the matriarchal voice and leadership.
Right.
I think it might be because clearly what we're doing is not working. So at some point it's insanity to keep doing what's been done and realize maybe there's something missing here. Maybe it's time to pass the mic.
Right.
And really let the women speak and lead in government, in politics, on bigger platforms.
Absolutely. And for us to take the space, but not in this, not aping men, because then we're doing the same thing.
No.
Right. But really claiming our own voice and whatever that looks like. Some of us are more masculine, some of us are more feminine. But we can claim that without aping
That's right.
a persona that we think we need to inhabit to get more approval, because then we're feeding right into the machinery again.
Exactly. And we have our own phenomenally unique, beautiful way.
Yeah, and that's what I think is really beautiful about you, because I've only recently started seeing you, but you're very iconoclastic, and you have kept true to your whatever you've decided are your values, and it shines because you are in authentic alignment, and it shows, and you catch the attention. I know you're not doing it for that, but you do, because you're very different, and because you have not played to the tune of the mainstream.
I think that I think the authenticity is at least that's what I hear over and over again from women, is that the authenticity is so. I'm so starving for it, and I feel it from you, and that makes me I trust you to help lead me in my own life. And I say to them, well, the most beautiful thing is working with me is all about resurrecting your own inner leader.
Right.
If we do this, the idea is like the self-trust inside of you is what proliferates, and that you get to then be your most authentic version.
Right.
That's always my goal, is to bring that out of, and it's different for every single woman. But the more a woman finds that within herself, the braver she is in her relationships and her communities and her own body in front of the mirror with her children in every space that she inhabits. And that is, up until this point, that is how my work has tried to create that change, is when we heal the women, they can then turn and parent differently. They can be a partner differently in a way that matters for the world.
Yeah, and there's been this incredible wave of women stepping into their power, which has been just incredible to watch.
We are at a really exciting time right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm also really excited about? I'm excited to be this age at this time, and because I don't know, maybe even 10 years ago, I wouldn't have had the boldness in the way that I do now. I just feel so thrilled to be using my voice and my power at this time in my life for the good of humanity.
Yeah,
and thank you.
You are.
Thank you for your work. You are just so absolutely extraordinary from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being you and for all you're doing for the parents of the world,
thank you.
for the children of the world, really. Like every parent who reads that book, it's so beautiful. It changes the experience for those kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.